Hey guys, Akiba here from CryptoSlate. Today with me I've got Dan from RhinoFi. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well, yeah, thank you. It's quite hot here in Paris today, but It's been a good couple of days otherwise.
So tell us a little bit about RhinoFi. Previously, I think this might have been part of your problem.
Yeah. I'm Dan. I'm one of the founders of what used to be called DeFi, and last week we rebranded to RhinoFi. What we do here at RhinoFi is we build a hub where you can access DeFi across many different chains from one entry point. So you have one wallet, one balance, one account, and you can swap tokens across multiple chains, invest in yield without bridges, native tokens and all that stuff, but it's still decentralized.
So why a Rhino?
We've rebranded for a few reasons. So firstly, as you kind of already alluded to, diversify was impossible to spell or remember, and so we wanted to change that. And we've gone for the Rhino because we want to build a brand that lasts not just during the kind of early adopter stage of crypto, but through wider adoption. So that's something more familiar. And we have bear markets, bull markets, and the Rhinos always survive, and you can depend on them.
Hardy and trustworthy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what does RhinoFi mean for you? So this isn't, you've given us the elevator pitch, you've given us the pitch that you can say to everyone whenever asked, but you personally, what does it mean?
So for me, I guess maybe a lot of the listeners and a lot of the people here at the conference, we kind of realize the benefits of DeFi. And the benefits of DeFi are maybe not so obvious to people that live in developed countries. So like in the UK or in France, when you tell people, the bank system doesn't work, and they're like, okay, but it actually does work pretty well. But there are many places around the world where it doesn't. And I'm originally from Bulgaria, so in my lifetime we've seen like 1,000 times inflation in like 2 years, a lot of like corrupt spending, the financial system literally being broken. And even until recently, you couldn't like access the stock market. So, giving people like fair access to the same system is really important. But DeFi today isn't really like that user friendly. It's not really usable, and we're still in the process of making that happen. So, one of my biggest worries is if we don't make DeFi good enough to use for normal people, it just won't happen. We'll get like some form of centralization, or we won't be able to bring that value to the people. So what we're doing at RhinoFi, and like why we care about that, is we want to take DeFi and bring it to users with a user experience that people love, without sacrificing the
user experience is something that a lot of people are talking about as being the kind of the problem to solve during this bear market.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, every cycle, we go through cycles, and we're all looking forward to the bull market coming back, and expecting more users to be in the space than there were last time. Well, for that to happen, we need to have built better products. So
you're multi-chain. Do you think that's a really important aspect then for the user experience?
So multi-chain creates a problem for user experience, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The multi-chain solves some problems but introduces others, right? So it would be great if we can just do all DeFi on Ethereum, right? But we can't, because it's very expensive. Even if it's not expensive, it takes time. Transactions fail. Using wallets is hard. It's not private. So all these other layers have emerged to try and solve some of those problems, which is cool. But now we have like 10 of them, and now we've seen about 40 to 45% of DeFi TVL has moved away from Ethereum to other chains, and all of the opportunities are often, or the best opportunities are offered in different places. So we've solved some of the problems of DeFi, but we've introduced others with this massive fragmentation. So what we are aiming to do is unify that, so that we can have a unified face to DeFi to solve that fragmentation problem.
So you offer kind of self-custody through the service. So how do you manage to allow people self-custody in a multi-chain environment? How does that work?
So in simple terms, we have our layer 2 layer. So we operate our own instance of StarkX, which is a layer 2 built by Starkware. And you can think about that stores kind of like the user information, like how much funds users have where. And then on each blockchain, we have a smart contract deployed on that is connected to this layer 2. So for example, when you deposit on Ethereum, your funds will be in the Ethereum smart contract. It's connected to our layer 2 instance. If you deposit funds on Polygon, your funds will be on the Polygon contract connected to layer 2, and so on. So you can access these through like one place. In the kind of disaster scenario where we turn malicious or like we completely go away, our layer is destroyed or whatever, we get your assets back on the respective layer where they are to your wallet.
So you still connect your own wallet from each of the platforms to Rhino?
You would connect only one wallet.
Okay.
So, and we're still integrating chains which are EVM compatible. So that works. When we start doing non-EVM chains, then that wallet problem will slightly become.
So the moment it's like BNB, Polygon, like it's all EVM. Right, okay.
Yeah. So we've started with Polygon, and we're doing BNB, Avalanche, and Arbitrum next.
Cool. Do you see one blockchain winning out in the long run? Or do you think sort of multi-chain is going to be the future?
So I think... So there are two sides to this. So the first one is we now have a lot of different layers and chains which are competing to essentially do the same thing, right? So we're now in the process of like divergence. And there will be consolidation at some point because some of these will win out. And the thing with layer 2s and other chains is that a lot of them become cheaper and more efficient the more people use them. And of course there's network effects, right? You know, like if all protocols are in one place, life is much easier with composability. So there's an argument there to be made that we will go towards one layer. But every blockchain makes certain trade-offs, right? There's you have your security decentralization cost or scale. And that trade-off makes sense for different use cases. For example, if I'm a bank that's sending $3 billion, I want to do it on the most secure chain. If it costs me $100 in gas, whatever. If I'm playing a game where I'm making microtransactions, do I want world-class security or do I want to just pay pennies for transactions? You know, so I think that we will have kind of more like purpose. Kind of like use case based layers for that.
What do you think about the potential solution of having, say, Ethereum as a settlement layer, like Polygon as transactional, and then layer 3s on top of that for each kind of project or website, whatever, just basically everything being a layer 3 on top of something like Polygon? Or what are the others?
So I think I can see a version of that happening. I think a layer 2 on top of Ethereum could be that kind of like unifying layer. I would bet more on rollups, like a CK rollup, maybe an optimistic rollup, rather than the current implementation of Polygon, although they're doing some really good stuff with Hermes Polygon, which...
just an example. It could be any layer 2. It's arguably the most popular at the moment, which is why I sort of went to it. So I think because of the kind of what we were saying earlier, that like a layer 2 becomes cheaper to use and there's more network effects, definitely there is a case we made that it doesn't make sense for there to be that dominating layer. Then for your application, if it doesn't require that much interaction with other places, it does make sense to put it on a layer 3. You get kind of like some control and it's cheaper. But there is a trade-off because you're putting an extra layer of friction there between the. So if you want to move funds between places, it does make it difficult if you're on layer 3. So you'd have to have some applications better than that. You'd have to have worked out a really clever, smart, secure bridging mechanism between. But if the layer 2 had, obviously layer 2 is the fees are going to be less, so bridging assets between that and a layer 3, you imagine, are going to cost very little and makes it arguably more viable. I guess if it's an application that requires constant flow of funds with other with other protocols, it's a bit difficult. But if it's something that is relatively self-contained, then
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. So what are you looking to learn at events such as ECC, where we're at now, and other events sort of during the bear market?
So I think there are some. So from my perspective, we talked about like user experience, and that's kind of one of the major priorities for me. And specifically, what I'm curious to see is cross-chain bridging and messaging protocols. How that space is developing. There's a lot of work happening, and we want to stay up to date because that's really useful for us when building this unified experience. And also wallets. I still think wallets are a user experience problem in DeFi, and there are a lot of good teams doing things, but it's a difficult problem to solve.
What's your biggest problem with wallets?
So, my problem with wallets is, I think what makes it difficult to solve is wallets present some kind of unique user experience challenges with, how do you recover keys? How do you, kind of store seed phrases, like how much decentralization people want versus like the security of actually being able to recover keys if they get lost. And you can probably solve those in quite a good way, but then getting a wallet to be used in the wider ecosystem is quite difficult. So, for example, a lot of people use MetaMask, like almost, I don't want to say all users of DeFi, but like MetaMask is the most popular wallet in DeFi, but it's not the easiest to use, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah, it's quite.
Like you want to add Polygon to it, if you don't know, it can be really tricky.
But it's integrated everywhere, right? So it just works with everything. And so, there are these two opposing forces where like you can build a great wallet in isolation, but it also needs to work with the rest of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So getting that kind of adopted and set as a standard is really hard.
So are you in the camp that, are you relieved we're in a bear market now, so it's time to build? Or are you one of the few sort of builders that kind of wishes we were still in the bull market?
So a little bit of both. So during a bull market, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and like loads of users, loads of activity. It's great. It's easy to feel good about ourselves, right? But definitely now, it is nice to have the mind share to focus on building and making the best product. There's less distractions, there's like less kind of temporary fads and so on to distract us from our core mission. And also during a bull market, so I'm the product guy, right? And my job is to kind of listen to users and see what people are actually using and what are the use cases that people want. And during a bull market, especially when there's so many incentives for products to be used, it makes it very difficult to see what are the real use cases that are surviving. So now that that's happening less, we can see, okay, who are the users of crypto? Like, what are the real use cases people are finding here? How do we build products that people want to use, rather than just paying people thousands of dollars if they.
So you're saying your goal really is to build products for people that are around during bear markets?
Not necessarily. So our goal is to build the product for the people that are going to be the people that are going to come in when spring next comes, so to speak.
Yeah.
But in any case, so we want to find what are the real use cases of crypto and how we bring that to users.
So what are you looking for in terms of a reversal sign for the market? What for you would happen if something happens and you say, yeah, okay, it's bull market time?
I'm not going to give financial advice, but I think for me the thing is that it's one of the lessons I've learned from the previous bear market is that it is worse than we're going to think it's going to be. Maybe that's a slightly pessimistic view, and I know ETH has been rallying for the last few days, but I'm still like, don't trust that.
You still feeling there's a leg down? I
feel like it hasn't been long enough. It hasn't been painful enough.
I know. I'm kind of in the same position that at 60k you'd think like 17k, okay, that's a lot of pain, but I think maybe just everyone in crypto is just such a masochist now that you just like, oh no, because it's pretty bad, but it's not an 80% drawdown, and I think that's kind of what it is, isn't it? We feel like it should hurt a bit more than this.
Yeah, and I think it's a longer period of time.
Cool. So what's next? What's the next big thing that people can look for with Rhino?
So for us, last week are a big rebrand, and next we're having more chains, more opportunities, access to more DeFi from one easy place.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.